parking lot or? Oh, never mind. We'll wait for you.
Every speed limit to get here.
Shh, I didn't know that. All right.
Figured I'd have to bring those.
Good evening. I would like to call the February 3rd, 2026 Planning Commission meeting to order. Please note this meeting is being hosted through live stream on the city website and by teleconference via Zoom. I'd like to remind the planning commissioners to have their microphones turned on in positions that the audience can hear. Director Monique, may we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Viramontes,
Here.
Commissioner Hill,
Here.
Vice Chair Worth,
Here.
Chair Beamsturfer,
Here. All right, now we go invocation and flag salutes. We'll start with flag salutes first. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Father God, thank you for bringing us here tonight and in good health, Lord. I pray that you guide us in our decision-making tonight. I pray for our country. I pray for our city and the leadership in our city and the safety as well. In your name we pray. Amen. Agenda item 4 is public comment period for items not on the agenda. Are there any members present that would like to make a comment on the agenda or on teleconference via Zoom?
Chair, I do not see any members of the public requesting to speak online.
And online either?
Yes, or online.
Okay, thank you. Now moving on to the approval of the minutes from the Planning Commission meeting. Does the commission have any comments or corrections that they would like to make?
I do, just a clarification, on the commissioner reports, it's a real small issue, but it said that I met with a developer and that I appreciated the opportunity to meet with the developer, and then I also discussed the CGA, the facade grant program. I was referencing appreciation of being able to be a participant of the ad hoc committee versus being appreciative of meeting with the developer to discuss that project. So just to clarify that, I'm appreciative of both, but it was for the participation of the ad hoc committee. So
For the record. All right, with that change, can we have a motion?
I motion to approve minutes of the Planning Commission meeting of January 20th, 2026.
second.
I have a motion to approve the minutes by Commissioner Viramontes, a second by Vice Chair Worth. May I have a roll call vote, please? Commissioner Viramontes,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Vice Chair Worth,
Aye.
Chair Beamsturfer.
Yes,
That motion passes 4-0.
thank you. We will now move on to receive and file for item 6A, briefing of the temporary sign fees and holiday program.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Kelly. I'm the Code Compliance Manager here in the city of Hemet, and I wanted to provide a briefing on a program that we're doing right now. It is Beautifying Hemet Together, and it's a temporary sign fee holiday. We put together a PowerPoint to take a look at. The sign fee holiday is going to be now through April 30th. And what it is we are waiving sign permit fees for anyone that comes in and applies for them. It's going to give people or businesses more time to plan and install permanent signs, over double the normal compliance period for that. Here's some examples of temporary signs. These aren't signs in our city necessarily, but just examples of what we're trying to get away from having. We have flag signs, we have just regular banners on tops of businesses, and we would like to encourage businesses to move forward with actual signs on their businesses to help beautify our city. We're doing this to enhance the look and feel of Hemet's commercial corridors. We want to support local businesses transitioning to permanent signage, and we want to improve safety and visibility for customers and pedestrians. It's obvious that businesses are easy to find when they have lit up signage, different signage than just banners and flags. Next steps after April 30th, code compliance is going to start enforcement on these temporary signs and banners. We would like to encourage these businesses to move forward with these permits. That way, when we get to that April 30th deadline, we are not enforcing the sign ordinance on these businesses. We've already had countless business owners come into City Hall and call us and contact us via email. We've had 6 sign permits issued since January 22nd, so I only expect that number to increase. We've had tons of people coming in asking for parameters and what they need. We've referred them to planning and building and safety for further guidance on that, but this is really encouraging that we already have people working on it. We've been, the code compliance team has been walking the downtown. We've been visiting business owners. We've been making phone calls, trying to get the word out and educate everybody on this prior to that deadline so that everybody can take advantage of this. Here's a copy of the sign that was mailed out to these business owners. We identified all the businesses in the city of Hemet, and we mailed notices to nearly 500 of them, included with a letter from our community development director. This was helpful in getting the education out, but like I said, we also walked a lot of these businesses. We're continuing to walk a lot of these businesses, and I have some of the flyers in the back if anybody would like one, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. Does commissioners have questions for staff?
I do not have any questions.
No. I think it's excuse me. I think it's a good program. Thank you for putting that out there.
Yeah. There's 996 out there right now that are out of compliance.
We identified about 500, a little under 500 that are out of compliance, and that's just us identifying what we can. There's, 5 of us out,
Sure.
actually less than that now, but trying to identify these businesses. We're still continuing to try and find more.
And those out of compliance, is that all temporary signs, or are those just across the broad spectrum of what the requirements are for the current sign code? Or
It's very broad. They could have no sign at all. They could have a sign that doesn't have a permit. It could be just feather flags or a banner on the business. There's a variety of things that could be going on, and we just want to educate and help bring them into compliance.
Gotcha. So, so the April 30th deadline for starting compliance, if, what keeps folks from being in that compliance pipeline? If they start the permit, if they contact you, how do they get out of the compliance path?
Well, so we do want them to call and start working with us. Sometimes it does take a little bit of time to get plans together and figure out what they're going to do, and we realize that. We're going to continue to work with people, but if we don't have permit applications in and things, we are going to start sending notices. We'll start with a courtesy notice, again, more education, and then we'll move forward from there. Like I said, we really do want to encourage voluntary compliance.
Yeah, no, this is great. I think the city's doing everything they can to help encourage it, and offsetting the cost and giving a lot of communication. So, thank you for the presentation, and hopefully we get a lot of permits submitted.
Hopefully so. We also contacted all of the sign businesses in the city to let them know this was coming. That way they could put ads out and try and make contact with people and drum up some business that way into the city.
That's a great idea.
When is this over, by the way? I forgot.
April 30th,
April 30th, thank you.
And this is citywide?
citywide.
Okay. One question I have though is I understand like banners and flags, especially banners are out there 24 hours a day in the front of the building. Flags even are sometimes left overnight just sitting out there. One of the things you listed is the A-frames. And that, to me, I don't understand why that's in the list. If somebody were to bring the A-frames in during business hour, they put it out and they bring it in. So it's not out there 24 hours. So why is A-frame a part of that list when it's more something that it could be brought in daily instead of being more permanent outside?
So there are business owners that are responsible and bring their signs in. There are some business owners that are using these as a permanent signage. And those are still people that we want to encourage to get permanent signage. If the A-frame signage is something that was approved upon when they opened their business and when they worked with planning, then we absolutely will continue to allow those things that were provided by planning in their conditions.
Okay, so like the A-frame, for example, like I want an A-frame for my business. I put out there during my business hours and bring it in when I close, because I don't want people stealing it. And do I need to sign a permit and sign up a permit to have that for any time I'm open? Because I know you guys do like 45 days with certain temporary signs and things like that. But like the A-frame, something that's a little different is something I put out there when I open and I bring it in when I close. And it's not out there 24 hours. So do I have to pull a permit for that?
You do not need to pull a permit for that. We do ask that it's not in walkways and things like that that could impede pedestrian traffic. We want to encourage people to walk in those areas. So as long as it's not impeding anything, then you're good to go.
Okay. I think that's about it. Any other questions? All right, thank you very
Thank you.
much. And with that, I guess we don't have to make a motion or anything, we just receive and file. All right. And we're gonna open up public hearing, I guess, first. Before we receive and file, we have to do a public hearing, it says here, so. Are there any members present that would like to make a comment on this or online?
And Chair Beamsdorfer, I do not see any members of the public or in the audience requesting to speak.
Okay, with that, we're gonna go ahead and close public hearing, and then we receive and file it. All right, we move on to public hearing item for 7A for the zoning ordinance amendment, ZOA 26-001 for arts and public spaces. And we have Assistant Planner Nathan Morin, right? Morin?
Yes.
All right. You never know sometimes.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, staff. My name is Nathan Morin. I'm an assistant planner here at Community Development in the Planning Division, and tonight I will be presenting to you the Zoning Ordinance Amendment 26-001 for the Arts and Public Places program. So tonight's request is for the Planning Commission to make a recommendation to adopt this ordinance so that the City Council can then go ahead and approve this ordinance. Tonight's meeting is a part 2 to the previous meeting we have for the work study, and as stated tonight is to now move forward to adopt this potential program. This Arts and Public Places program fits into our strategic plan integration goals 1, 3, and 4. The applicant for this zoning ordinance amendment is the City of Hemet itself. This is a citywide initiative. The Planning Commission has the authority and is responsible for the review and recommendation of zoning ordinance amendments and zone map changes to the City Council. They're also responsible for the final review and approval of a zoning ordinance amendment, and they're also responsible sorry, excuse that one. The city council has 30 days for a second reading. Fun fact about this image, I just found out yesterday that apparently this image that some of us have seen for years was apparently actually painted by Thomas Kincaid himself, and I thought that was pretty cool. It's called Hemet 1915. Tonight's meeting was publicly noticed on January 14th for a 20-day noticing requirement per the state. As of this point in time, we have not received any public comments regarding this ordinance. This will be brief. A lot of this is stuff that I discussed the last time I was here presenting to you. There was a formation of an Arts and Culture Ad Hoc Committee that basically meets. It has the council members, City Mayor Krupa and Council Member Peterson, as well as other individuals involved that kind of help the city create programs and events, and it's a coordination. On July 17th, we also created the San Jacinto Valley Cultural Map, shown before you. We've also had community events over the past year that were also brought to you by the Arts and Culture Ad Hoc Committee and also local organizations. And tonight brings us to the Arts and Public Places program. So, again, the goals, as stated previously, are the following 5 goals. I'll spare you the time in reading them again. I've already read them to you from the previous presentation. But the 5 goals are still the same goals as previously. Based upon the work study, we did prepare a new version of the ordinance that included your suggestions and your recommendations. We do have a cultural heritage criteria, a community partnership program, context-appropriate placements, integration of the scenic highway setback requirements, general plan consistency, and we did go with the recommendation for the 0.25 and the 0.5 in lieu of fee percentage, just to name a few, but listed upon you is the full list of those. As previously stated, this program, again, it applies to projects, residential and non-residential, for projects that have a valuation of $100,000, as well as public projects and tenant improvements. Some of the additional types of projects that can qualify are capital improvement projects, projects that include public parks, as well as publicly financed museums and cultural centers. Non-applicable projects, there was a recommendation last time to exempt single-family, single-lot residential developments, and that was included in the new draft version of the ordinance, as well as minor accessory structures, which could look like things that are less than 120 square feet. Interior improvements, maintenance and repair, and emergency work are all exempt. As previously before, these things are still current. Option 1 is to install public art. Option 2 is to donate artwork, and option 3 would be the in lieu of fee for the non-residential developers. For the residential developers, the option is, as before, is still the in lieu of fee and the alternative placement plan. I did prepare for you a little bit of a breakdown of what these fees could potentially look like with different percentage rates for non-residential and residential projects. For example, if we did like a large industrial project and we did the 1%, we could potentially be having anywhere from $400,000 just in fees alone that we could acquire for a single project. For a multifamily project, potentially with about 250 units, approximating about $50 million, we could, if we do 1%, $500,000, or if we do the 0.5 as recommended, $250,000. Just prepare this for your viewing. Everything as stated before regarding the art installations, these things are still current. As stated before about the public art components, none of this has changed from previous The public artworks that are eligible, none of this has changed as well. These are all still the same as previously. And to kind of show you how this integrates a little more into the general plan, Chapter 10 does specifically call out the city has intentions to create a arts and public places program, and we have the following goals as shown before you, and there's also policies. And reviewing the general plan, this proposed program does fit into all of these goals and policies. This project per CEQA is categorically exempt under the common sense exemption. There's no impact from this zoning ordinance amendment because there's no development associated with this at this time. Recommendation for Planning Commission. Is respectfully to recommend that the City Council adopt the proposed ordinance establishing an arts and public places program, which has been revised also based on your recommendations from the January 20th public hearing. And to also file a notice of exemption with the Riverside County Clerk, as well as with the State Clearinghouse. Fun fact to point out, our January 20th public hearing was also our 116th anniversary as a city. So moving forward with programs such as this, we could potentially have events that celebrate things such as that. There is a little housekeeping I wanted to clear up. As you might have noticed at the beginning of the presentation, I did emphasize public places. Looking at our general plan, there is language specifically calling out a program referred to as the Arts and Public Places Program. So the housekeeping is for the resolution, the ordinance, and the program guidelines and overview to have updated language to remove spaces and be replaced with places to be consistent with our general plan. But that's my presentation, and thank you.
Thank you for that presentation, Nathan, and the corrections that were, the changes that were made on our suggestions. Commissioners, any questions for staff?
Yeah, I just have a couple clarifying questions. So, on the staff report, it said it's going to be chosen case by case. Who's going to accept? It says locations are going to be accepted in a case by case basis. Who's going to be like in charge of that? Planning Commission or somebody in charge?
Planning Commission will also be making the recommendation for City Council, but it'd be working with Community Development, Building Department, perhaps even Public Works,
Gotcha.
and City Manager's Office as well.
Okay, so in the slide, I believe it was like their first or second slide. So if somebody wants to put in something like a public art, they have to get approved by the Planning Commission and the City Council?
Correct. Planning
Gotcha.
Commission would be making the recommendation for approval, and Council would be approving it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Nathan, thank you for that. I think the last time we met on this, I suggested that there might be some sort of theme associated with this public art, and I didn't see anything in there with that.
Yeah. So the public art program is not so much based upon theme, it's based upon a context for our city's history, its culture, our aspirations. This isn't necessarily a one-time project that has X amount of projects. This is a project that's going to see us through years to come. So to create a single theme specifically for the program isn't necessarily the applicable route. It would be more so a broader scope where we can allow, let's pay homage to like our Hemet Stock Farm. Let's pay homage to the Ramona pageant. Let's pay homage to our local organizations.
I think you're describing a theme.
Yeah. So
So-
not a specific theme, but yeah, it's meant to be broad as possible.
I don't know. I would recommend that there is a theme associated with this art culture, so that it's not, different as you drive through the city. You see these different pieces of art. I think if there was a theme to it, it would kind of all hook together and make sense. So that's my recommendation.
And perhaps that theme could be something that is kind of brought back on a recurring basis to the Planning Commission, to the council, which kind of leads to a comment that I have, which is that I would suggest that we have some sort of an ongoing protocol or process for an update to the commission, to the council, on what the fee has produced. For me personally, I'm always hesitant to add more cost to development. There's a lot of things that we're trying to implement to help support and to bring development in. And so when you're adding additional costs and additional fees, you want to be able to communicate to the developers why that's important to us and why there's a value to that fee. And I think that with the changes and some clarification in terms of how these art pieces and how they could enhance and improve our community, I'm fully supportive of that. It's important that we continually balance and are always kind of reconciling, making sure that the fee is paying for what it was intended to pay for, and which is also why I'm supportive of starting off at the lowest possible fee amount, and let's see how it does. And if we come back, after a couple of years and say, hey, you know what, it's doing a lot of good things, but we could do a lot more with a little bit more fee, then at least at that point we have a case to be made to the BIA and to others to say, hey, this is why we're jumping that fee up. It's just my own thought. But then also with that kind of recurring interaction with the council and the commission, that can be maybe here's the projects that have moved forward, here's how they fit into a theme, is there anything we want to adjust? It's just kind of an ongoing, I would hope that this would be an iterative, evolving process that sticks to the root of the rationale for why we're establishing an additional cost to development community. And I think there's value there. We just need to not just there's another fee and let's forget where that money goes. Let's make sure we're getting value for that fee as a community, and that we have an opportunity for this body and the council to review that and just, does it still apply? Is it getting what we want? Do we need to increase it? Do we need to get rid of it? Is just to have some process of ensuring that it's meeting the intent of it. So that's my thoughts. But thank you so much also. I appreciate the opportunity from last meeting to provide feedback, and you did a great job of capturing all of that. I do think that there's this very clear distinction between a single parcel builder. They're already a member of the community generally. They're just trying to improve what they're already investing in, versus a large-scale developer that's coming in that's trying to increase value and increase profit. And so there's a different distinction between that. So thank you for making that change. That's all I have. So thank you.
And just for clarification, last meeting we had, I think other cities are charging 1% to 2%.
Mostly are 1% to
Mostly are
about
1.
0.5%.
So this is not really a question, it's more of a suggestion, and as a whole, we can just make a recommendation. I think they should both be at least 0.5% instead of 0.25% and 0.5%. And on the non-residential, that applies for commercial, I think we should at least go up to 8% based on square footage. Because when we start dealing with, when we have these warehouses, they have deep pockets. They can afford to pay a 1% if they're building a 400,000, 500,000 square foot building, and they want to contribute to the fees. They have deeper pockets. So I think they can afford that extra 0.5% towards the art program. And I think for the commercial, we should at least, that 0.5% should go up to 300,000. And if it's bigger than 300,000 square feet, then we go up to 1%, because based on square footage size and how much land they're taking up on our property as well. that's just a suggestion that we can maybe suggest to council. But in the end, it's their decision to make. And again, thank you for adding in what our suggestions were. I know it's like the hologram one, it's been brought up, and you put it in here, and everybody else's suggestions as well, so I thank you for that. Any other questions for staff? No.
Just to kind of your point and mine relative to the fee, is it anticipated that there would be an opportunity, and maybe this is a question for legal too, that if we establish a base fee now, that we can come back at a later time based on performance and say, okay, now, based on how we're seeing the revenue and the value and everything else, we can make adjustments as needed?
Well, there's always that opportunity, but we would have to come back and amend the ordinance and to play around with that language a little bit. Or we can somehow tweak the language that we have now to, maybe we don't necessarily have to come back each time. So we just have to see. But I think the cleaner way to do it would be to come back and to see what had transpired from now until then. And if that decision's going to be made, then we could have the findings to support that. So we can always come back and amend it, but we would have to go through the amendment of the ordinance.
And I guess Chair, my general thought is, anytime you add a new fee, let's just make sure we're getting what we think we're going to be getting. And so, if there's an opportunity to raise it, I think there's a lot of efforts underway right now in terms of streamlining the plan review process, everything else, to try to encourage development and support development. And so we just need to kind of balance that line between adding additional costs and burdens and everything else with the intent of the program. So if there's an opportunity somewhere there to have some flexibility after a certain amount of time of the program's been in place, and we've got some value, we can determine whether or not the fees are sufficient, whether we need to be raised, whatever the case is. Just my general thought is start low. Results begets results, or success begets success. Let's have something to show for it to help justify the need to increase the fee later on.
Chair, I'd like to go back and ask Nathan something.
Absolutely.
Nathan, can you go back to the fee schedule
Sure.
slide? I just want to double check. You kind of went through it kind of quick, and now that we're talking about fees, I'd like to really go through this. Okay. Single-family residential valuation $350,000. So if I'm building a single-family residence on a lot, that's what this is?
Yeah, so if you're, say for example, if you're building a single-family residence and the valuation was set to be $350,000, with these different percentage rates, that's what your potential fees paid would be. So it would be $875 if we do it at the current rate, or it would be $3,500 if it's at the 1%. Mind you, this is the fee for the developer to pay, not for the owner of the to-be home. But
Correct. Chair, just to clarify, we are only recommending this to be applied for master development or subdivisions, and it will be based on a per lot valuation. So each building permit that's issued for a single family that's paid for by the home builder would apply. If you purchase an infill property in the city of Hemet and you want to build a home, this fee would not apply to a single family property
Okay.
owner.
So if I'm building a home on a lot, this doesn't apply. But if I am a developer and I'm building a single-family home on a lot, it applies.
correct.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's for 2 or more developments. If you're doing
Okay.
a single development, it would not apply.
Yeah, and that's one of the comments that we made last time that was incorporated into the revised.
Okay, all right, good. Heavy industrial project. So You've got three amounts, 0.25, 0.5, and 1%. Is this a sliding scale, or is this yet to be determined?
So depending on your recommendation, if you wanted to go with the 0.5 recommendation for non-residential versus the 1%, that would be what your potential outcome could be for an example project of that value. Same goes for single family or multifamily. Depending on the valuation of the project, whether it's the 0.25, 0.5, or 1, those would be your potential outcomes for fees paid. Mind you, the developer can also do an art installation and not pay the in lieu of fee as the other option too.
Okay. So, Commissioner Worth, you were saying let's go low early and then maybe adjust it. So what are you saying, like 0.5 to start with, and then maybe if it's a good program, go up to 1%? Is that your recommendation?
Well, I would say that, so, I mean, just to kind of put this in perspective, so looking at the residential lots, because that's kind of, you know, we're seeing a lot of that in our area. Do you have an idea, Nathan, of kind of what just the average total fees are per lot currently?
I do not, only because I don't assess those fees, so I don't know.
Monique, by chance, do you? I'm just guessing. You know, you start adding in water fees, you start adding in power fees, you start adding in all these fees. I would suspect, and maybe you can correct me, but we're probably in the neighborhood of $50,000 to $60,000 per residential dwelling unit for total fees.
Well, it's going to be not based on building permit fees. It's going to be based on the valuation of the project. What is the construction cost that the developer reports as part of that?
I understand, but I mean for this particular one, it's like a single family, so we're adding potentially up to $3,500 per home, right? Because that's the valuation of a project. So if a developer comes in and he's got 50 homes, or let's make it easier math because I don't have a calculator, but 100 homes, it's $3.5 million that he's going to have to add to his cost of building those homes. Now, granted, that's the developer paying the fee, it's not the homeowner, but he's going to be selling the home and he's going to recoup his cost. And
Yeah,
so
it's getting passed on.
it's getting passed on. We're all there. We're adding cost to the price of home, and I'm not against that. All I'm getting at is let's make sure there's value. Let's make sure that the burden we're putting to the development community is worth, the juice is worth the squeeze. So to
Okay,
speak.
so what I'm hearing from you is you would be okay with starting off at 0.5%.
0.5.
I would be, my general recommendation is start low, get value, come back and see and assess.
Yeah.
I understand there's other cities that have done the same thing. I am not familiar with like a I don't know, a return on investment analysis, you know, and it would be
Yep.
interesting to see kind of how that is, but just from a general kind of high level, I try to balance between, we want to encourage development,
Right,
and we want to also improve our community.
right, because the word's going to get around with developers that this is out there and this is happening, and I would agree. I would start at 0.5. That would be my recommendation.
I agree.
0.5, and to city council and say, hey, let's start low and get people used to it, and then, like you said, Commissioner Worth, if it's a successful program and it doesn't turn people away, then maybe we could crank it up to 1% somewhere down the road, a few years.
I think since other neighboring cities are at 1%, coming in at 0.5% is still quite a bargain compared to other cities.
Yeah,
But I think there should be a tier system somewhat, and when it comes to square footage of a single building, I think it should go up to 1%. Like even if it's bigger than 500,000 square feet and larger, you know, if a building is taking up that much land, obviously they got the pockets to be able to do another 0.5% more. But you know, like these big warehouses that come in here, you know, 1% isn't going to stop them from coming in. And so I think 0.5% is good, and I think we should elevate it more based on the square footage of how much land that building is taking up.
Right, and if the surrounding cities are at 1% or more, that's a discriminator for us at 0.5%.
Or, if I may, Chair, another option may be, if this might be a little easier, would be just to have a vague language in the actual guidelines itself and pretty much defer it to City Council for them to review at the time based on market rate, proportionality, square footage, and City Council can have the option to make it a 1% or a quarter or 50% or 0.50, depending on the totality of the circumstances. That way, we wouldn't have to go back to the ordinance and do an amendment. It would be
Yeah.
more of a resolution.
Yeah,
I mean, that's an option.
okay, that's an option, but it kind of gets away from the discriminator and
We
highlighting
should
to,
stick with a 0.5% and just put it in ink at 0.5%.
yeah.
So, Chair, just to clarify, or just to, are we hearing that the consensus is 0.5% across the board for commercial and industrial and residential development? Or
Correct.
are we going 0.5% for master developments for residential and 1% for industrial, commercial?
I just think for the sake of confusion, just 0.5%. And when somebody asks that question, we all know how to answer that.
Yep,
And so
across the
there's-
board.
And I think, Chair, one of the things, so talking about kind of those large commercial warehouse types of things, is like if we were to, work with them to get more investment into our community, is art really the way we'd want it? Maybe it's traffic, maybe it's infrastructure, maybe there's other things that would be of more value to offset, the environmental impacts that they're producing. And so maybe that's, if we're consistent across the board relative to this particular program, it gives us more opportunity to kind of leverage or utilize other programs and mitigation measures to have them pay their, I hate to use this term because it's, have them pay their share of the impact of coming in and the benefit of being part of our community. So I think if we just kind of keep in mind that this is specifically for the purpose of art, I think it would be a good idea to let's start it, see how it works. We have a lot of opportunities, I think, with those larger commercial projects to improve some other elements of our community, like traffic and bridges and things of that nature, that we may want to have some latitude in the future to adjust fees there or adjust participation and mitigation measures there.
What are you suggesting?
5%.
A 0.5%?
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I just think keep it simple, keep it lower initially with an as a recommendation from the commission, with an understanding of that we're trying to balance, as a body, we're trying to balance the promotion of development activity with the value created to our community. And it's a brand new program. What I would really like to see as part of this program is regular updates on how it's going. That's a slideshow of art. What's being installed, and just kind of a budgetary update. This is the revenue. We'd like to do this, and this, but we don't have enough money. So maybe the recommendation is we increase the fee, and then that can be an amendment. But at least get it started, see how it works, and then come back and kind of revisit. So.
And you mentioned that planning commission will review some of these to a certain scale, and then we suggest it to this council as a suggestion.
Yeah, for our installations, you'd be making the recommendation for City Council to approve it
And then there are some that will just go through the city on the smaller scales.
on the smaller scale.
Which
yeah.
I trust the city enough that, one development would maybe have Ramona Bowl theme, and then across the street, they wouldn't put, fairy tale theme, across the street. So I hope the city would,
A fair shrimps theme.
yeah, not mix that. So, but I think as a whole, does everybody kind of agree that we suggest to council 0.5%?
So I do agree with Commissioner Worth saying that we should keep it low at first. I wasn't opposed to the 0.25 to see where it goes, but instead of having to amend that, is there any way we can recommend it be revised after a couple of years without having to amend it, or it has to be amended? Like a revise, like a 2-year, every 2 years we revise that fee, you know, whether it's going good or it's going bad, depending on the program?
Well, if you have a set amount in the actual ordinance itself, so if it's quarter
Mhm.
and you want to maybe go maybe 1%, we would have to amend that quarter amount.
Gotcha. So you can't just say like, this program would be reevaluated after 2 years?
Well,
It has to-
you can include that.
But it would have to be
And we can
amended.
say, but it would be as amended from time to time, so we would have to,
Gotcha.
yeah. we would have
Okay.
to go back and amend it.
And I think that's a good process to go through, to give the opportunity for,
Just to get the ball rolling kind
Yeah,
of thing.
'cause it may
I
not
do
be
think
us.
lower is better,
it
because.
may not be us on the, so it may be the next group that
Mhm.
can make a decision, but at least to come back to the body, it's not that much of an,
I still think 0.5%, because neighboring cities are at 1. You know, I mean, so we're half that. We're
Yeah.
half that bargain.
Yeah.
So, And,
All right.
and just across the board, 0.5%. So when somebody asks staff or somebody, well, what's the percentage for resident, or what's percentage for commercial? And
It's
I
not
think it's
off the top of your
I
head.
think it's, no, I mean, I'd be 0.25, it just needs to be across the board, so it's just simple for
Sure.
everybody.
Gotcha.
So,
That's our recommendation.
Yeah.
that's
Hopefully
our
we got all that down.
recommendation. 0.5%.
pencils down.
I think that's about it. Any other questions for Nathan?
No, I think
No.
we've suffered him enough.
No, thank you, and again, thank you, you obviously took some really good notes from our last, from your last presentation, and appreciate, you incorporating all of those, so thank you.
Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And with that, we're going to open up public hearing. Are there any members present or online that would like to make a comment?
Chair, I do not see any member of the public in the audience requesting to speak, and I don't see anyone online requesting to speak.
Okay, so with that, we're going to go ahead and close it. And I don't think we have to make a motion, do we?
Yes.
The public,
So, Chair, if we make a motion, we need to add
the 0.5%.
the 0.5% in the theme, correct?
And the theme.
Yes,
I like
okay.
the theme idea.
Yeah.
Would we also, I mean, as far as the recommendation, so with that theme, some sort of a regular update back to the commission as well? Does that need to be incorporated into the motion? Because those are not necessarily parts of the ordinance, but just recommendations from the commission.
Yeah, you can just separate that, so you could just incorporate the revisions to the .5
As part of the ordinance.
as part of the ordinance, and then have
Add
a
the
separate, you're right.
Gotcha, does that make sense?
Okay. Let's see if I can get this right.
I'll add to it as you need.
Okay. It is recommended, I'm making a motion to recommend that the city council adopt the proposed ordinance establishing an art in public places program, which has been revised based on recommendations made by the planning commission during the work study session on January 26, and the public hearing on 3 February 26, and 2, find that the project is categorically exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act in accordance with California Public Resources Code Section 21080.17, as defined by Section 66314 to 66332 of the Government Code and CEQA Guidelines, Section 15061B3, the common sense exemption, as it can be seen with certainty that there is no possibility that the proposed ordinance may have a significant effect on the environment. And 3, that we recommend a 0.5% fee across the board for the developer. And 4, that there be a theme applied such as Hemet legacy referencing and future aspirations of the city, something to that effect. And I believe separately, a reevaluation at a certain point in time.
Yeah, just to add a little bit, a scheduled ongoing update the progress and the value added by this program for the purpose of communicating to our residents and also reassessing the need to adjust the fee moving forward.
And do you second that?
I second that
Motion.
motion.
I guess it was like two motions with 1 second. Sorry.
Yeah, I should have made that. I should have stated that.
So, we're making a motion to send this off to council with the 0.5%
Yep,
across the board.
yep,
And we're going to request a type of theme,
yep,
Yep.
and then we're going to request an updated report
yep.
And yeah,
quarterly, or, I mean,
no.
I know staff
Some-
is busy, so we don't want to do too much.
Some regular update.
A yearly update.
To be determined. It doesn't necessarily, just some regular update back to the commission on the success of the
An
program.
annual update.
Okay,
year.
an annual
Annual.
update.
Yep.
Very good.
All right, and then, is there a second to that?
Second.
I hope someone was taking good notes. That's why I brought the
She's over here
cookies.
jotting down stuff.
I have a motion by Commissioner Hill, second by Commissioner Viramontes. I'll have roll call vote, please. Commissioner Viramontes,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes,
Vice Chair Worth,
Aye.
Chair Beamsdorfer.
Yes.
That motion passes 4-0.
All right, City Attorney Leila Sawari, what reports do we have today?
Thank you, Chair. I just have a legislative update on an interesting one. It's AB 752. This measure requires local agencies to approve daycare center operations within or on the same grounds as multi-housing by right. This measure designates the projects as residential uses for zoning purposes. Additionally, this measure prohibits a local jurisdiction from imposing a charge, tax, fee, or a business license equivalent instrument or permit for the privilege of operating a daycare center that is within or on the same grounds as a multi-family housing. And that's all my reporting.
Old daycares.
I have a quick question for you. Is that, so with all the stuff that's been going on in Minnesota, does that, are some of those exemptions things that would affect the need for the daycare centers to report or be accountable? There was a lot of exemptions that you went through. I didn't quite catch them.
The measure prohibits a local jurisdiction from imposing a charge, tax, fee for a business license equivalent instrument. Equivalent instrument, I would have to look into what that really means. But from its face, I don't believe so, but I don't know, to be honest. It's a new legislation just started, so.
It's, yeah, kind of concerning. Hopefully there's no learning centers and just learning centers.
All right, item 8B, Community Development Reports. Director Monique?
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to first welcome Sharice Johnson, our new administrative assistant, who is now officially our Planning Commission Secretary. And I also want to thank Jordan Walton, our assistant planner, associate planner, for helping us out during this time in transition. So I just want to say thank you to the team for that, and I want to say welcome to Sharice. Also, there is an email that was sent out to the commission this evening. What I'm looking for is confirmation from the commissioners who will be attending the Planning Commissioners Academy, which is hosted by the League of California Cities, Wednesday, March 11th through the 13th. That's a Wednesday through Friday. And that is going to be in Anaheim. If you are going to attend, please confirm and via email by Friday so that our department can register and provide accommodations for that academy. That is all I have.
Okay, and that's the 11th to the 13th?
Yes.
Okay. And then future agenda items. Director Monique?
Yes. Future agenda items include the Weston Park redesign that is coming back to the Planning Commission March 3rd, is tentatively scheduled. We do have future developments such as Valle de los Tres Cerritos tentative track map. We do have a pro-housing designation program that's under review right now. We do have a consultant that was that's been working with WRCOG and analyzing the city for our current housing element and how we can participate in the pro-housing designation, and looking at a scoring proposal for the city. We do have the 2025 General Plan Annual Progress Report, as well as the 2025 Code Cycle Updates for residential construction, the pre-approved ADU plans that we had discussed in a prior work study, as well as the RTA Wentworth facility expansion. End
Okay,
of report.
thank you very much. And last is the planning commissioner's reports.
Commissioner Viramontes,
I have nothing to report.
Commissioner Hill,
Yeah, I just wanted to say we had a community meeting with Councilmember Clark in District 1. I think it was represented okay. I wish there were more residents that showed up, but it was really put on very well. I think Mark did a great job of presenting, the state of the city to everybody there. It was very impressive. And I think we should have more of those to get the city aware of what's going on, because it's a lot of good news going on right now, but you wouldn't know it unless you kind of got into the weeds and the detail and heard some of the good things that are happening across the board. Fire, police, city manager, even the finances of the city itself. So appreciate that. Thank you.
thank you. Vice Chair Worth,
The only thing that I wanted to ask, and I had a conversation with some members of the Exchange Club, a service group in the Valley, and there was a request to possibly have at one of their next meetings a briefing by our community development director on status of just things that are going on, kind of similar to what Chair Hill just talked about, or Commissioner Hill just talked about. Is that something that we would be able to do, and and maybe we can talk offline as far as the logistics, but is that a standard, or is that a normal process to, if there's a request from service groups in our valley to go to one of their meetings and provide an update?
we certainly can. I would recommend that we separately discuss the procedures for that. It may be through the city manager's office that the request is submitted, so that we can further explore what kind of opportunities are there to engage with the community. But definitely interested and be happy to follow up on that.
Okay, thank you. I'll link those things up. Thank you, and that's it.
Thank you. Chair Beamsterfer?
I too attended as a spectator Connie Clark's, Councilwoman Clark's town hall meeting, and I too would like to see that happen a little more often in the different districts. It was, you were there. Seemed like half the staff was the population at the place. Unfortunately, I would love to have seen a lot more residents there, but it was fun. It was fun to see what they have and what Mark proposed of what we have a surplus in the budget and these different things that the city is on the up. And I agree. I agree more districts should have those town hall meetings in their district. I think I would like to add to the future agenda item an update with all of our grants for the residents of Hemet and the business owners of Hemet and anything that's not related to fire or police, and just kind of have a future agenda item update as to the progress of these grants. Is it 80% complete, 100% complete, money allocated, such like the trash enclosure? I know that's still floating around. And, you know, I just kind of like to maybe hear at the council, like, the commission would like to hear as a whole, like, where the money's going, how is it benefiting, what's the status, what's the ETA, what's the sunset dates, you know, and just add that to the future agenda items, so we kind of know where our money's going and maybe see some before and after pictures or something. But other than that, I have nothing else to report. And with there being no further business to discuss, this meeting will be adjourned to the next planning commission meeting scheduled for February 17th, 2026 at 6 p.m.